Hello. Today I want to continue with the discussion about meditation. Now I have a particular meditation in mind, not any meditation. Okay? Most meditations, you know there are a lot of them. A lot of them. And the vast majority, maybe 99% of them, are more of the same. More of the same. Well, what's the expression? If what you've been doing isn't working, then why continue to do what you've been doing? So the meditation that most people will use is more of what has got them into the mess that they're in right now. More imagination, more daydreaming, okay, more self-absorption, okay, more getting lost in thoughts, and more drifting away with daydreams and drifting away with thoughts. Drifting away, surrendering to those thoughts, even if they're rosy images, even if they're images of a nice placid lake with swans on it, and all these images, okay, waterfalls, or sounds, people put on music, or sounds of chimes in the wind or something. It's all just to, what it provides is a false comfort. It provides, it's a substitute for the real thing. And it gets you involved in the very process that leads you away from the real thing. See, the real thing, what is the real thing? The real thing is coming back to God. That's the real thing. Okay? God is your closest relative. He's the one who made you. He's the one that you should be a chip off the old block of. You've heard the expression, the old expression, the chip off the old block. Okay? He's the Father, and you should be his son or daughter. And be like him. Okay? Not be him. See, that's our problem. The human race is that we want to play God, or we want to be God, instead of being content to know God. See? And if you aren't content to know God, I mean really know God, then you end up playing him. See, that's what we do in our minds. Look, I'll describe the process for you. Then you can see why you need to do the opposite of what you've been doing. So what we do is we play God. Okay? In our minds, we imagine ourselves being great or being glorious or being worshipped. Okay? And or getting revenge on someone. So we have these fantasies of romance or violence. Okay? And we plan and scheme how we're going to become great through knowledge, degrees, popularity, clothes, nice things, money. Then we're going to be great, and then other people will admire us, see, worship us, respect us. See, we have those kinds of daydreams. But then what happens? Well, somebody doesn't respect you, or they don't look at you the way you wanted to look at you, for example. And then what happens? Well, then you resent them. See? You resent them and you condemn them for not worshiping you and for not seeing you in a good light. See? Or not doing what you want them to do. So you resent them. In fact, in your mind, you may condemn them. You see, and you have little words in your mind about how terrible that person is. So you judge them harshly. See, God is both a king and a judge. So, you want to be a king or a queen and be worshipped, okay, like God. And then when people don't worship you, then you resent them. And then you condemn them. Then you become the judge. You condemn them in your mind. So that's a very it's a very naughty game. First of all, because you're secretly judging other people and you're using them. If you're judging another person, you're using them to build yourself up in comparison to them. You see how that goes? And for that you acquire a lot of guilt. First of all, because you're secretly judging other people and using them. So a lot of times then you rush after them and you try to be extra nice and do something nice for them to appease conscience, okay, for having judged them. But then the other thing, the other area where you acquire guilt and conflict is with the real God. See, by playing him. See, trying to take his place. Okay, and then some people even try to run other people's lives. They get a little education, they do a little studying, they get a degree or a certificate, and then they start trying to run other people's lives. And for that you acquire guilt. So you have all this guilt. So there's no peace. There's no true peace apart from God. And as long as you're playing God, you have to remain apart from him or face the truth about what you're doing. See how that works? So you have to be apart from him. But the more you're apart from him and flee from him and hide from him, see, well, the more guilt you acquire. See, well, okay, so then with all this guilt, then you have conflict and tension, not only with the real God, who you are playing, see, but also with other people who you are judging and condemning and trying to rise over and win over and manipulate. And see, you're always trying to manipulate other people to get them to see you in a good light and speak well of you and so forth. See, you're endlessly manipulating other people and endlessly playing these games. Okay, so you acquire guilt for that. So, and tension. See, and it ruins your relationships with you parents, with your kids. You force them to respect you, and you make speeches and you pressure them. See, things like that. Well, then the relationship is not good with your partner. You resent your partner because you wanted something from her or you wanted something from him, and when he doesn't give you what you wanted from him, which is worship. See, men require women to do things for them, which is just a very lowly form of substitute for worship. See, and women want the man to worship her. See, so and when the other person doesn't worship you, then you resent them. So your relationships don't work out because they're not truly on a human level. Okay, you're at a low level of pride and getting even and resentment and tricking and fooling other people and pulling the wool over and deceit and hiding and not being totally honest and all of that. So you have so much guilt, so much tension, so much conflict that then you look for peace for your tension and your conflict and your discomfort and your anxiety and so on. So then here comes someone who says, well, try this here, where you hum something or you chant something, see, hypnotic. Or you stare at something, hypnotic. See? Or you imagine the scene in your mind and visualize these things, see? And so they either hypnotize you or they show you how you can hypnotize yourself. See? But what you're looking for is, you're looking for a peace apart from God. See? So it just can't work. So actually you acquire more guilt. See, a false meditation, as I have described, which that's what most of them are. You acquire more guilt because of your attempt to give yourself a peace apart from God. So what would true peace be? Well, remember Christ said something very interesting. He said, if you're bringing your gifts to the temple, you're offering to the temple, and then he says, and then you remember that you had something against your brother. There's some kind of a contention between you and your brother. He said, leave your gifts at the temple door and first go and make it right with your brother. Then when you make it right with your brother, then you can have true peace. Okay? The air is cleared. See, you don't judge him anymore. You've taken away the reason for him to judge you, and so on and so forth. And when Christ used the term brother, he meant anyone, your wife, your husband, your kids, your neighbor, your parents, your sister, your brother, your co-worker. See? Make it right. Well, okay. So how do you make it right with God? Who you've been playing and avoiding. Okay? Well, what you do is you become still. See? You stop running, stop avoiding, and just become still. Okay? And then wait for the truth to dawn upon you. Okay? Let's suppose you did someone wrong. Okay? Let's suppose, well, I'll use the term, let's just say your earthly father. Say you had a good dad. You know, you had a good dad. And you're a kid or a teenager, okay? And then you did something wrong. He told you not to go do something, but you went and did it anyway. Got in trouble, even though he had told you not to. So how are you going to resolve this? There's only one way, and that's to go to your dad and say, Dad, I messed up, Dad. You told me not to go and do that thing, and I went ahead and did it and got in trouble. I'm sorry, Dad. I should have listened to you. See, that's how you make it right. Anything short of that, see? But if you are unwilling to make it right with your dad, then what do you have to do? Then, see, no one is able to stand alone. No soul can stand alone without some support. So then, now you still have this enmity with your father, this bone of contention, some unfinished business. So now your support is not from him. So you have to go and get support from your friends, quote unquote friends, the ones who enticed you to do the wrong thing in the first place. So you go and get comfort from them. And they didn't want to admit to their father they were wrong either. So that you all just cling together, see, and support each other, you know, like a peer group, and maybe to help get rid of your guilt and so on. Well, maybe then you smoke marijuana, or take drugs, or drink alcohol, or party, or listen to music, or play video games. See, anything to avoid, see, what you should do, which is just go to your dad and say, hey, Dad, I'm sorry. You have to make it right with God. And how do you do that? Well, you learn to become still. And you wait for him. See? You wait upon God. And wait forever if necessary. You won't have to wait forever. Because as soon as you become still, if you really have the right attitude, and you're not trying to manipulate, see, and you're not trying to be deceptive. If you just really and truly are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and you're tired of all the games you've been playing, and you just become still, wait for the truth to dawn upon you, God's light of truth. See, the truth is a light. The truth is not any particular fact. The truth shines a light on the fact so that you can see that it's a fact. Okay? So, God's light then will dawn upon you. And when it does, see, you'll feel like you want to run again, which is what you've always done. You'll feel like you want to run. You feel like you want to escape into thinking, into thoughts, into daydreaming, into worrying, into thinking about the past or planning for the future. You'll feel like reaching for a magazine or for your iPhone, or for a drink or a marijuana, or or music, or calling or talking to someone, or eating. You'll feel like running to escape into something. But if you can just sit there and bear the pain of seeing your own wrong in the light, see, then that's the beginning of a change for the better. In that instant, see, you begin to change for the better. And then, see, and the meditation helps with that. Then after that, then you may know the peace of God. See, you become reconciled with God. You admitted you made a boo-boo, you've made boo-boos, and you've been prideful and you didn't want to admit you're wrong. You admit it. Wordlessly. Wordlessly. And then you also stop trying to save yourself. Stop trying to make things right. See? Which is, you really and truly let go and let God. See, that's the beginning of it. But I'm telling you how. And I began by telling you why most meditations are just the wrong thing. They're more escape, more trying to find a peace apart from God. Now people may find this eerie, false peace apart from God. And they walk around and with a smile on their face, and they look like very nice and holy people, but they're not. Because what they're doing is they're actually avoiding God, denying God, the real God. Okay? Now, who is it that helps them to deny God? Remember I said that if your father told you not to do something, then you went ahead and did it and got in trouble, and then you didn't want to admit that you were wrong, and so you avoided your father and then clung to your friends. See, so who helps you not to come back to your father? Who would do such a thing? Who would not help you to come back to the Father? Well, in our little scenario, your friends, see, there's safety in number or comfort in number. See, as long as you're wrong just like they are, then they can find comfort in that. If you suddenly became right, and then you said to them, hey, I don't want to smoke marijuana, why don't you guys go to your dad and tell him what you did and be sorry? See, they don't want that. See? Or maybe in our scenario, mom, she resents her husband. Okay? She resents her husband. So maybe she comforts you. See? She comforts you. She said, don't worry about your dad. Just forget about him. And see? So that's not good. But in this great scheme of things, this universe, see, this great mystery of life, there's actually forces of good and forces of evil. It's like Star Wars. The bright light side of the force and the dark side, okay, are fighting a battle. And you are just a little pawn, okay, but either side can operate through you. But as long as you're prideful and you don't want to admit you're wrong, and you avoid the light and you avoid the truth, or you want to play God, or after having played God, see, and judged people and used them and manipulated and so forth, after that you don't want to admit you're wrong, then by default you end up on the dark side and can only get comfort from the dark side, just like you got from those other boys that went encouraged you to do something wrong when your father had told you not to. So you get comfort from them, or comfort from your mom if she resents her husband. See, you get comfort from them. So the only thing you can get comfort from is through other people, see, who are also wrong, and then from the dark side itself. See, remember, evil exists. You can't see it, taste it, or touch it, but it exists. And it will comfort you. See? Most often through your mind. In your mind, it'll say, it'll come up with something or other. Or it'll tell you that, God hates you, or God would never forgive you. Or see, it'll come up with something or other. You just try all these different things to see what works, to dissuade you from becoming still, coming back to God. See, that's what it'll do. But it's not your friend. See, it wants you to escape into rosy images and imagination and visualizations and nice music and escape and pleasures and sensations. It wants you to escape and drift away with those. See, so you don't have to face the music and come back to God. So it's not your friend. Okay? So you can expect when you start to meditate properly. Like with the meditation that I have, you can expect that you may you'll see that there's something that opposes you meditating in you. See, it got into you when you hated your parents, hated other people, and did things that you weren't supposed to do, and it got into you. And now it's inside of you. And it doesn't want you to meditate properly. It doesn't want you to be sorry. It doesn't want you to admit you're wrong. It doesn't want you to do any of that. And it'll create all these brouhahas, and it'll assail you with all kinds of reasons why you shouldn't, couldn't, and won't work, and just, see? But with the help of the meditation, you can stand back and just observe those things. Just observe those things, all those things that it says, the turmoil that that it creates. Just observe it from the neutral zone. Just as if there was a bad movie, the television was on at the other side of the room, and there was a bad movie, like one of those movies they used to play at 1 in the morning. There's just a bad movie on, and it's just not credible. It just goes in one ear and out the other, and you don't even pay it any mind, see? Okay? And you keep meditating, and thereby come to God. See? Become reconciled with God, and find the peace of God. Peace with God, and the peace of God. My name is Roland.